Hey everyone, welcome to another typology interview. We have Nick Stride here. How's it going, buddy?
I'm doing good. How about you, Benjamin?
Awesome, doing really good. So just get to this out of the way. You're doing some music production a little bit. I noticed you had
Yeah,
like the ending on Joyce's channel for her stuff.
yeah, I do. I'm an artist, so a singer-songwriter, and I do loads of stuff with that. I'm hopefully going to get a new song out by the end of the month. If not,
Awesome.
not for Joyce, for me.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah. Do you
I'm
have?
actually
Is
hearing
it
myself
online
on.
somewhere?
Yeah, Nick Stride. If you type in Nick Stride into YouTube, it should come up
So
for you.
yeah, send me the links to all of your stuff, and we'll put them in the description. Cool.
I will do. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so let's start with how you got into typology a little bit.
Um, I actually got into typology by accident. My webcam's bothering me, seeing weird parts of my room. Um, I was having sort of like what you'd call like a tidal wave in my life. And I was like, man, what's wrong with me? Why does this shit keep happening in my life? And like I was
Mm,
drunk one night or something and I typed in like personality, like I was thinking like personality test for like narcissistic personality, borderline personality disorder, all these type of disorders. And I
right.
ended up by accident on 16personalities.com and then I got an INFP type because I was drunk. And then looked into it further and I was like, oh shit, Carl Jung, I know this guy. I studied him in religion and stuff. So it got me really into it and I
Where
really
did you study
expanded
him?
it in religious studies, like
Okay.
psychology of religion.
Okay. How does that work?
Um, we first had Freud and then we had Jung. And Freud was all about like, it's like delusional religion. He's like,
Right.
it's all about the Oedipus complex and, you're making God your father and you have this ambivalence towards him and whatever.
Yeah.
And Carl Jung was like, well, actually, it's more. He was seeing it as like images of wholeness. So like a yin and a yang doesn't equal and a negative. And he was seeing like I can't remember exactly all of the stuff in the theory, but he was looking at it as being like part of like the Book of Job. He did loads of analysis of it, of
Yeah.
Judaism and Christianity and how it makes humans feel whole and this
He was
greater
a
understanding.
agnostic, no, something like that.
I'm not sure what his personal religious background was, but
Okay. Cool. So sorry, I interrupted your story. Keep going.
um, I've forgotten what my story was. Yeah, and then I
Accident.
just
You
got
saw it
really
was from
into it.
Carl Jung, 16 Personalities.
Yeah. So I got really into it, and I was like, "What are these cognitive functions? What does it mean?" Um, I then ended up later on down the line. Every time I retested when I wasn't drunk after that, I got INFJ. One time I got ENFJ,
Yeah.
and I sort of felt like those functions made sense.
Yeah. That kind of does make sense for you, but we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and then got into OP somehow. I think through gin type. I think OP might have a weird thing with the UK, like they're not recommended to people in the UK. We
Oh.
don't have many British people, like relative to English speakers who are British compared to Europeans and stuff. I'm seeing that there's not
Right.
many of us. So I
Okay.
found his channel by accident just through typology stuff. I was looking into INTJs and I was like, what's he talking about? Objective personality, who's the state superpowers guy, and then ended up in OP and here we are.
Cool. Win for Gin type. Good job.
Yeah.
Um. So you got into the system. Did you know what your personality type was? Did you guess at it?
My
Because you've
OP
been around for a while.
Yeah, my OP type, I've had a few guesses. I've now been
Right.
typed by Shan, so that is now what it is. Um, but I'm even having sort of not doubt so much, but I'm like seeing that maybe what OP is tracking and sort of what we're seeing along with the checklist in reality maybe isn't exactly what cognitive functions are. And I think OP works and it's good, and I don't have problems with the system, and I don't think that they mistype people to their own definitions and stuff. But I'm
Hmm.
thinking that there's like maybe I don't know. I'm still trying to get to the bottom of what I think even.
So you just did a little bit of a vocal nuance there with showing your objective sleeve. So that would put you on the OE side right there.
What was the vocal nuance? What was the objective sleeve?
Just like it is what it is, sort of thing. It's it's like just accepting of reality.
Okay.
So it's either like a very it's like either you've accepted your demons from OI, but it didn't seem like that. It seemed like a savior state. So that
Right.
would just put you on the OE side of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Um, Okay, so I'm gonna guess right away and say that's SE.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I'm not sure if it's your first or if you're decider observer yet. I don't have enough info yet, but
We'll
that's
get into
interesting.
it.
Yeah. Well, do you want to tell me a little bit about SE? You come off as like a very soft spoken person, so I'm wondering if there's like some kind of feminine that would explain that.
Yeah.
So yeah, can you tell me if your SE is feminine?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
That was really surprising to me, actually. I was pretty sure on feminine NI, masculine SE.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, because I didn't get the fact that your details are movable and you're forgetting them and stuff like that. It seemed like you're remembering them.
Yeah. I mean, on a spectrum of like humanity, I can kind of see that my sensory is more feminine than some people's,
Right.
but it's also not that
Yeah.
ridiculous. Like a lot of the things that I'm seeing as being feminine sensory, I could also explain with feminine NI.
I see.
Like
Yeah.
I see like I'll mistake patterns and stuff a lot. So like I'll walk down a road and I'll think I'm on a different road because like the shape of the road reminds me of it. And like Shan was saying
Mhm.
to me that that's feminine SE. I can see that being feminine NI too. Like it's
Yeah.
pretty neat to hear all that.
I identify with a little bit of what you're saying as well. I think what David and Shen are tracking, it's not if it's feminine. Well, they're supposed to be tracking. It is not if it's feminine or masculine on a spectrum. It's if it's feminine or masculine in relation to your NI.
Yeah.
So
You
you
said
could
this before, and
be,
I agree.
yeah. So you could be both, like pretty masculine on both. Just your SE is a little bit more feminine than your NI.
That would make sense. I feel like
Yeah.
maybe they're really close, and my NI is masculine relative to the SE, but it's like pretty feminine compared to other people's NIs. And then
Right.
like my SE is kind of pretty masculine compared to most feminine whatever I'm trying to say compared to other people who have masculine NI as SE. It's like more.
Yeah.
I'm getting confused with
So
my
he's
words. Sorry.
asking, sorry, I distracted you with a sensor here. So function, you can see you're responsible to it. Function gender neutral could be a thing. So I could be. I would say that one kind of has to take on the masculine role, like in some way, like
It's more likely to me
relatively.
that would be the case. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I was seeing some stuff of like pre-MBTI Jungian works of like you can be say NI DOM and then have TI and then FI and that be your function stack. That's possible, but for me it seems more likely that you'd have extroverted and introverted functions balancing each other out. And I think
Yeah.
it's also more likely that you'd have masculine
Cool.
and feminine.
Yeah, you're really on the objective side of things. I'm just seeing that.
Thanks.
So yeah. No, yeah. So that is on the SE side. That's cool. I haven't been able to get really your deciders yet too much. So I'm thinking that might make you SE Dom then. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that a confirmation?
That's not what Shan saw.
Okay, so they put you decider.
But
Okay, awesome.
yeah, it's
Okay,
possible though.
yeah. So do you see the decider thing going on?
Kind of. Um, I struggle to see it more so than with double deciders. Like I can maybe see where I'm not double deciding as easily as they are or something. But as
Right.
far as the big tidal waves and the freakouts, I'm not seeing that I'm having
Yeah.
massive tribe issues. And I'm
Because
not
okay, so
seeing
you also said at the beginning how you got into typology is because of a tidal wave, because something kept reoccurring, some kind of pattern,
yeah,
and you didn't know what it was or why it was happening, and you wanted to look into it. And that
yeah,
shows like your tidal wave is an NI tidal wave. That's what hit
right.
you. Right.
I
Yeah.
can kind of see it being both of my saviors or both of my demons tidal waving with how they
Okay.
tidal.
With how they typed you. Interesting.
But it could also be an NI tidal wave. I could I don't know.
Do you want to go into
I'm
it a
seeing
bit, like your tidal wave? Tell us a little bit about what happened. Is it possible? Like, is it too
I'm
sensitive or?
it's not necessarily that it's sensitive for me. It's just that it includes tribe members and stuff, and it might make people
Right.
look really bad.
Okay. Like someone who's watching would identify themselves in the tidal wave?
Yeah, and it's sort of to do with like
Hmm.
family stuff, and I'd have to get into specifics to make it make
Okay.
sense.
All right. Well,
Um,
can you talk just generally?
yeah, I guess so. What I'd say my response to the tidal wave was like a responsibility to gather, so I can kind of see that. Like I need to understand this.
Yeah.
Um, but it tends to be with sort of like I could see it both being. Well, I'm going to give away the function for you if I do this.
All right. Okay.
Um,
Well, okay, so then is that a feminine TI that I'm kind of seeing?
Not according to Shan.
Not according to them, so they put you EJ.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. Yeah. So that makes that yeah, that kind of makes sense. So it's a TE then?
yeah, femininity.
Wow. All right.
Really shocking to me.
Wow.
I would never see myself as TE, and I don't identify with the cognitive function, or a lot
Right.
of the anecdotes to do with it that Dave and Shan
Interesting.
say that they have.
And so that what and yeah, because you come off as pretty low energy as well.
Yeah,
And yeah, so it's blast is a demon then is what you're
yeah,
saying. Yeah.
last.
Blast last.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah. Okay, so that's a tough type to type by doing that.
is it?
Yeah, yeah, because you're using TE, but you seem like an IP sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. That's sort of how I was
Yeah.
typing myself as well. I was pretty sure I was ISTP, but then like things came across that I was like, I don't have DE last, like just from talking to Dave of all people and stuff.
Right.
It came to the conclusion that I was seeing the tribe's perspective and it wasn't a massive void for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so then I was struggling. I was like, well, maybe I am INFJ, but I don't feel like things about it didn't quite add up. But then I saw Fred too, and I spoke to him, and we were like, well, we're basically the same person, so this makes sense, I guess. But my sensory was better than his. He's masculine
Right.
NI, so we were like, okay, that kind of still makes sense.
Uh-huh. So you got double feminine.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, we got your whole type. So you can talk about your tidal wave really quick for everybody.
Mm. So it's just kind of like I have a hard time really putting it into words and narrowing it down, but um, I can get led into situations, let's say, where like people were like, "Hey, we should do this thing," and I'll be like, "Yeah, cool, let's do this thing," and they'll be like, "Oh, what about this and this?" And I'll just be like, "Yeah, cool," and then it will come to a point where like things have conspired and it's become weird, and then I have to like massively cat energy the situation to get out of it, and I'll like
Mm-hmm.
let things go for too long, like, and I see it kind of being like I'll let the DE go for too long, I'll let myself like be movable with a tribe for too long, and then I won't narrow down like they probably consider this FI, but I'm kind of seeing it a bit as NI as well. Like I don't
Yeah.
narrow down what I want from the situation or where I stand in the situation. So I'm just going along with people's shit. And then all of a sudden I'll just be like, oh well, this is fucking bullshit. Fuck you, fuck this, fuck everything about this. You're all a bunch of cunts. I'm out of here.
Mm.
And that tends to be like a recurring tidal wave. Like I'll do all this stuff with people and I feel like we're sort of like on a level playing field of like we're both double deciding here, we're both taking each other into account and knowing where we stand. But then it turns out that you had a hidden agenda, and you know that's sort
Who had the hidden agenda? Someone else or you?
of someone else
Mm.
recurringly.
Are you sure they actually had the hidden agenda, or you're just projecting that on them as the EJ?
No, I'm not sure that they have a hidden agenda, but I guess it's just like
Because like that's an
uh,
EJ fear that people have hidden agendas.
yeah, yeah. I had that fear when I was really young, but it was way more observery. Like I thought, sort of like if you've ever seen the movie The Truman Show, I had a lot of fears that my life was the Truman Show, and this was like people were like watching me live my life, and like it was a TV show, and people were making fun of me, and like
Yeah,
the
that
world
sounds
trying to throw
exaggerated.
things at me to like fuck me over and see how I'll react to it.
Yeah, that
But
does
that was
sound
when I was
exaggerated.
really young, and I don't have that so much now. What I have more so is like I'll feel like communication isn't easy to get across in a way where. So right now I'm having an easy time communicating to you what I think because we're having like an ST conversation. But when we get into like the realm of feelings and stuff, and like what do you want to do with your life, or what
We'll get there. Yeah.
you want to do you want to sort of go to this club or whatever, I'll be like, not really, but if you want to do, we can go to it.
Right. So you're sacrificing your own wants and needs for the functionality, I guess, in some way.
I guess so.
Yeah. See, I identify with that as well as like a demon feeler and just no FI as well. That I'm just like I don't care, but I really just
Yeah.
don't care. I honestly don't care. For like an TE, you actually do care, but you're just not going to let people know that you do.
Yeah, I think part of my tidal wave is kind of maybe because it's masculine. I can see what I want. Like to me in
Right.
my own cognition, it feels like I'm a double decider. That I don't have trouble with the two perspectives. I know your perspective, and I know what I want out of it too.
Right.
And I'll try and communicate it, and that's hard for me. Then people will just not care, or they'll just sweep it under the rug, and then like the momentum of the situation will keep going to what it is. And then I'll be like table flipped, like we're playing a game of chess, and you've like cheated 3 times, and I'll be like, right, fuck this, and I'll just smash all the pieces off the board.
Right. Okay, so what you just did there, like that's a huge amount of honesty and that's a huge amount of self-deprecation to say that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So like that's a very also objective tribey way of looking at yourself. Like you're looking at yourself through the perspective of the tribe. So yeah.
I'm trying. I'm trying to sort of be as reasonable and sort of like see how things can make sense as much as
Right. And that's your cognition is doing that. It's telling you to
Yeah.
look at yourself through the perspective of the tribe and not through your own eyes, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part of me feels like I learnt that throughout my teens, but I think maybe it would have been easier for me to learn that, assuming my typing's correct and stuff.
Right. Yeah. So feminine TE, have you been able to resolve what that is for you to define the function in some way?
Not really. I'm kind of like what I was saying earlier about I'm questioning how like I want to say so many things. There's so much OE going on right now.
Yeah.
I was saying earlier that I'm like seeing maybe that like what Young's talking about with his functions and what OP's talking about with like how they're seeing things on the objective grid and stuff. OP isn't wrong and neither is Young, but I think in specific areas they're sort of looking at different things. Like there's overlap. So like for
Okay.
me, I'm seeing like what really is the difference between my cognitive process in my head and TI, and I can't see it that much. Like I feel like masculine TE clashes a lot with TI, whereas I love TI. I think it's great, and I want to
Mhm.
be doing TI. Really, I want to be folding ideas in themselves.
Yeah.
But
So
what I'm
what I've
seeing
seen
is,
from I'll just interject a bit. What I've seen
Mhm.
from feminine TE is they're way more open to gathering opinions from the tribe, from other people. Um, they're way
So
than masculine TE at least.
to contrast myself with Dave and Shan, like recently they were saying that they'll take in any opinion. They don't care if it's Billy Fuckface from down the road or if
Yeah.
it's an astrophysicist. They both have equal opinions on physics. I do
Okay.
not feel that way at all.
Yeah.
I do not care what my mum thinks about typology because she doesn't know anything about it. I
Well,
don't want to know
TE is
anything.
also seeing it on a spectrum. Like you're seeing ideas on a spectrum, right? So you're seeing that some have more I don't want to say value, but some are more relevant than others.
I'd say value is an accurate word, but I
Yeah.
think TI is doing that too. I think you're prioritizing certain things, thoughts over others, and there has to be some.
No. We're just prioritizing our own thoughts.
Okay,
Yeah. We're
well,
just prioritizing truth and whatever we see as truth. Yeah.
but so a lot of the time TI will get something wrong, right? And you have to
Of
like do it
course. All the
over and
time.
over again. You've
Yeah.
had to decide at one point internally, this is something worth pursuing, this TI that I want to go down the road of,
So
whether
TI
or
will
not it's
get things wrong, but it will know when and where and why it got it wrong if it figures out that it's wrong.
I feel that feminine
Yeah.
TE does the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm struggling to. I can see the difference as in this guy is OE, not OE, self over tribe over self and thinking. So that would make
Hmm.
me feminine TI. So I can see that
Right.
that makes perfect sense. I don't have any problem with that. Um, but I'm seeing like for you, like your value as a TI user, I'm thinking that it's totally obscure to you the same way for the most part it is for me what my values are. I wouldn't use that word for value or whatever. But there has to be if you can't make a value decision of like this is a good idea, this is likely to be true. You can't just reason. Like if you don't have value, if you don't have the F coin to balance the T off, you can't make decisions to then go that deep in your T. If that makes sense, is what I'm sort of seeing, and this is where I'm having confusion with like cognitive function and OP, because
Yeah.
I'm not really seeing what I'm doing being different from TI on a cognitive level. Well, I can see that it is objectively out in the world. I'm gathering in more. I'm doing all this type of stuff, but I'm seeing a very similar thing, and I'm thinking that a lot of what TI users that like you're not being dishonest when you're telling me what you see in TI, but like there has to be somewhere where you're deciding this is better than this thing. This is more likely to be true, and that for me, I'm seeing that as far as my vernacular, that would be you're valuing something more than something else. So like
Right.
I think language is failing us a lot in typology. I think
No,
language
for
is the
sure.
biggest
For sure.
problem.
Language is, it means every word means something different to every person. It's really, really strange.
Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, like I'm just meta observing how we're interacting, how, because right now we're doing T with each other, right? We're pushing back and forth on the T. So I'm just observing that at the moment, how that interaction's playing out. So like I gave over something and you didn't let it. You were like, yeah, not really. I'm doing the same thing. So that's yeah, it's a bit of pushback. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. What about TE in terms of like feeling a bit insecure about because like I feel insecure too. I mean everyone does, but
So, well, I've got like a few things that are popping in my mind already again because of OE. I feel kind of I used to feel I'm dyslexic, so I used to be very insecure as a child about my intelligence and stuff, and I thought that it was possible. Like I didn't get diagnosed as dyslexic until quite late, so I thought that I might have been actually like mentally like deficient in like a severe way, and that I was like possibly dribbling on myself and stuff, and just like my brain was censoring it. But I sort of feel in the middle of like how I hear masculine TIs talk. Like Dave of all people has once said in a conversation with Otum said, "I'm nervous that people are going to think I'm stupid or notice how stupid I am or something like that." And Dave said, "I get nervous that people might misinterpret me as being stupid, but they'd be wrong." Right? I feel in the middle of those two. Like
right.
I am definitely competent in some areas, but I've been wrong and I am stupid sometimes. I've made really stupid decisions and said really stupid stuff. So
Yeah. Okay, so from someone who just from a natural way of looking, what you just did, that little self-deprecation there, from my perspective, that seems very double decidery, right? But on the same coin, EJs would also kind of do that. They don't value themselves. They put themselves where they are. Like they're very objective about themselves.
yeah, I can also make sense of it in my type as far as like if I've got a masculine DI at the bottom, it's going to be kind of
Right.
a stronger DI than like say Shan's. So I'm going to be more aware of it.
Right.
And I'm not going to be that movable on it.
If
And
someone were
then
to
I've got
call
like
you stupid or say you were wrong about something, is that offensive?
yeah, it depends on context and stuff. Like if they're
Yeah.
joking, that's fine. If I've laid out a really well thought out argument and that it makes sense and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, you're just fucking stupid," then I'm gonna just go ape shit. I'm just gonna go berserk.
Yeah. Um, yeah, you're puzzling me right now. Yeah.
I'm puzzling myself, man. I don't understand.
Like okay, I could see their perspective why they put you TE, but then I'm seeing you're right. There is a lot of sort of overlap with what TI does in what you're saying.
Yeah. Um, we, I'm not sure that we have a lot of feminine TE in the community. So
Right.
maybe I and you and everyone just doesn't really have enough experience to know what feminine
Yeah,
TE is.
that's also true. And then also feminine TE jumpers as well, like TESE is a little bit more
Yeah,
rare.
I'm
Yeah.
also like a glass lizard, so I'm play, consume, sleep,
Yep.
blast. So that would make me
Yeah.
again even weirder.
Yeah, they put you as the same animals as Shan, so like
Hmm.
I guess they Dave knows Shan quite well on some level. So
Dave didn't type me.
oh
A shout out to Uzair. Uzair got me typed in a call with Shan like he wanted to learn more about typing, and he was like, "This guy's not typed. How would we type him?"
Oh, okay.
So
All right. So
yeah,
this is
it's
kind of
not
like not final either, this typing.
it's not an official type, but Shan is very confident on it. And
Okay.
normally when one of them are confident, they're both very confident on the same
Well,
thing.
okay, so masculine TE appears really confident, even though sometimes it isn't.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, they seem unmovable, let's say. Like
Right.
Shan doesn't
Yeah,
really
yeah.
want to hear any discussion about how I could not be this type.
Right. Yeah, yeah. So I actually talked to Uzair a little bit about that typing session. That's cool that it was with you. He said like
Yeah,
he
yeah.
learned a lot from doing that. Yeah.
I heard
Because
the
like
same thing. I'm
it's
glad.
it's really different being in the class and learning, seeing how they type someone else, and then having them teach someone how to type physically, like pushing on their biases and things like that. That's
Yeah.
that's a different experience, and it's a different learning experience. So he said he learned like more from that than any of the typing videos, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of want to see that video if you recorded it. I want to see how they
Oh,
went about it. I think it'd
yeah.
be really interesting.
Yeah, it would
But
be, and it could be a good idea for future kinds of classes as well, just to have someone try to type someone and then just them both correcting him.
wow, yeah, that is a
Yeah,
fantastic idea. Yeah, yeah, I really like that.
yeah.
I was also thinking. No, I've completely lost what I was thinking. I don't know what it was.
I identify with that too. Yeah. Okay, so here we have a question here. With your reaction to a well laid out argument, how important is actually working out which part of the argument is causing someone to dismiss it as stupid?
It's pretty important. But often, maybe this is the single decider in me, but often people just like don't give a shit. Like they just decide that they don't like it, and then that's enough for them to dismiss the argument, whether or not it's fantastically laid out. If somebody like I try and read the situation, if somebody's coming to me and they're like, "Yeah, your argument doesn't make sense, it's stupid because of this reason," then we can have a back and forth about it. But if you're just saying it's stupid, then what can I say apart from you're stupid or something like that? And I don't really want to engage in that. It's just a waste of my.
Right.
Oops.
Um, so you're seeing lead perception. Which perception are you seeing? Yeah, you didn't see a lot. He kind of DC'd. Device is not connected, it says, Nick.
Hello. Am I back?
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome chaos.
I kicked my USB cord a bit. Like they're a bit loose. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's all good. Okay, well, let's talk about maybe demon masculine FI then. Are you aware of your priorities? What's important to you in life?
I guess so.
Yeah. What are they? If I can ask, if it's comfortable.
So for now, I have plans that aren't very ST clear about like dates and stuff, but I feel like I have to get 3 albums done. The first one being sort of quiet produced and sort of contemporary hip hop, pop music influenced, then an acoustic-y one, and then like acoustic-y in that like the chords are written with the lyric, like the lyric leads me to the next chord, which and sort of like a more traditional singer-songwriter style. And then the third one will be mixing those two styles together rather than loop-based chord progressions and beats and stuff. I'll be going back and forth between the lyric and the thing and molding it together. So that's my priorities over the next few years.
Yeah, that's not a priority. That's more NI, what you're discussing there. It's more like your plans. So priorities is like what's actually important to you. What, like, family, friends. What do you want out of life? And even maybe like the hierarchy. What goes above what?
I think, interestingly, you always mentioned that in Young Theory, he says that your auxiliary gets you to your last function.
Right.
I think I'm going to have a really hard time not going through NI to give you my FI. but yeah, I'd say family is important. But realistically, to have a family and stuff, I need to set other things into place and have some stability for it to be good and how I want it to be. Yeah, I'm going to have a hard time giving you something that isn't set out to a plan on a timeline that is kind of vague.
Right.
I think.
See, it's timeless, right? Values are timeless, especially for FI. It should be something that's always is always more important than something else. Like, is your character more important? Who you are? That you? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what I value in that respect. No, I don't identify with either TI or FE. No, sorry, with TE or FI at all. I don't see them in myself, but I can see how they would be, like how somebody could see them in me. The main way that I'm seeing my FI is just cat energy. Like I'll get really angry when it hits my masculine DI.
Right.
I also see masculine TIs getting really angry
when
something is stupid
it could be
in their
either.
thinking.
You're right. Yeah.
So I'm not that's the only way that I'm seeing it is passionately angry, and that like is something that I'd associate with FI. Like the passion boils over, and now I'm freaking out. But that's it, I guess, for me is what my FI is.
Where have you seen that you've actually stuck up for? Like, okay, so we kind of touched on it earlier. So when you were saying, yeah, I don't care, let's do that. Do you actually not care?
When I do care, I'll make it known.
This is another question. Just answer the first one and then we'll get to there. Sorry. When you do care, you make it known. So what kind of things do you care about?
People, this is like a really random example, but people showing up at my house randomly and knocking on the door, or like, even things like phoning me up. It's like, just send me a text first, and then I can decide, like, give me context of why you're calling me, and be like, yo, I'm going to call you, and then I can make that, I can choose this, rather than just like having somebody being like, I'm going to make noise at you until you respond in some way by either declining or accepting. Stuff like that. I don't like having my space intruded upon without warning. I need to have some sort of idea of what's going on.
Yeah, I identify with that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but beyond that, I don't really. What was the question?
I don't even remember. We got one here. Are there things that family, friends have said that you have continued to value or prioritize over time?
Probably. I can't think of any.
Yeah. That's an answer. Yep. That's a good answer. No, it like for sure. Like even a lack of an answer is a good answer. So yeah. Okay, let's change gears. Let's go back into your NI a little bit. So you were talking about your plans. Do you see yourself as having a little bit of a problem narrowing down sometimes, like that tidal wave that came?
In my life, as far as just me doing my thing in my brain, not really. I can see how I'm not. So if I tell you like about my plans, like the plans I told you about with like the albums and stuff, it's all very feminine sensory, and I'm not sort of really. There's no specific dates. How are you going to make this work? You know, that I'm not going into the organization like that. I'm not really taking responsibility for every part of I'm going to do this, which can lead to this, which can lead to this. It's a vague plan.
Okay.
But as far as I'm concerned, I don't like having more options thrown at me. Like I don't want to know. Like I say I'm writing a song that has like guitar, bass, drums, and vocals, and that's my idea for the song. For someone to come in and be like, oh, you can use samples from an aeroplane taking off and you can make it do this. Now, I don't give a I don't want to know. I don't distract me with this. I'm trying to focus here. Yeah. So I it's mainly just in details of planning. I'm just not planning really well. Like I'm moving soon and I'm going to try and move it by foot because I'm moving to a house which is down the same road that I'm on. But how many trips am I going to make? I don't know. I'd see that's where I'm having a trouble narrowing down. Like I'm kind of vague, just generally.
Yeah. So like the SC and I axis was pretty clear for me from the beginning. And you do have a lot of colloquialism. Like you do have a lot, especially there's also the British thing going on between you and yeah. Between you and well, he said his name.
Fred.
Fred, exactly. Yeah, Fred too. So yeah.
Something that's interesting to me about like with Fred, like we did an interview, and it's something that I see over and over again, is that this is the biggest thing that's like confusing me about my type and his type, and like trying to like jig them apart and stuff. Is he in a lot of respects seems more blast than me. Like I was like he like struggled. He said during the interview at one point that he like really wants to talk about something and he's been thinking about it and working on it in his head, and then when it comes to say it out loud, hopefully Fred doesn't mind me saying this, but he has trouble, like it all falls apart on him when he tries like extroverting his blast. And I feel that I have more ease just saying what I want to say than he seemingly does.
So it's actually a common misconception that blast is talking. Blast is like pushing and controlling and that kind of thing. And I've definitely seen that. He definitely has no problem pushing on people, getting them to do things. Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. Because like from all the things that like I hear Dave and Shan say, like getting started and being talky and stuff. He also was saying that he's a few years older than me. I think he's like 3 or 4, maybe 5 years older than me. And he's going into like university soon. He's like redoing his sort of like preliminary stuff and then going into university, like I think in his 30s. Whereas I've already like done all the blasting stuff supposedly, and I'm 25 and I've come out of university now. So I'm like, how is he blast first and I'm blast last? Like it seems.
Yeah, a lot of that. Okay, so a lot of that play consume energy as well could have helped you out with that. I can tell you the thing with FE is when you're blasting with FE is you're always thinking about how it'll come off and how people will receive it and what effect it will have on people. So I don't know if you identify with that a little bit. Is that something that you do?
I definitely do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that just falling into feminine TE as well. Like I'm movable with the tribe, and it's my main priority is like the tribe.
It could also be feminine FE. Like there's nothing definitive yet to separate you from those. Like I can see this is really the question we have. Yeah.
So I can see myself being different from the feminine FE. Like if you look at Thomas Aylott, I watched a lot of your interviews with him, and he's really interested in social trends and TikTok's going to be the next big thing and whatever.
Right.
I'm
not
totally.
I have feminine FE and I'm not.
Yeah, okay, but if I was an EJ with feminine FE, then I should give a shit.
If you're an IP with TI, that's the differentiation.
Okay.
TI versus TE, yeah.
Right.
Masculine TI versus feminine TE. What about in terms of like argumentativeness? Are you pushing back on stuff?
If it's stupid, yeah. If it doesn't make sense, but if something makes sense, I don't feel a need to argue with it. If I can make sense of it. But if I can't, then I need to.
Yeah, because you started talking a little bit at the beginning about what TE was. Like, are you a fan of questioning logic, questioning your own logic, questioning others' logic?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I like philosophy a lot. So that's a big part of it. It's just like trying to understand even what reasoning is and stuff.
Like if someone makes a decision, are you interested in why they made the decision? Are you trying to flesh that out?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And do you believe them when they say the reasons, or do you question their reasons?
If it makes sense, then I won't question it. Like if I can double decide myself into your shoes and be like, okay, if I was doing this, the things that they've said make perfect sense. There's no trying to fit two puzzle pieces that don't fit together, that you're not cramming something in, so there's no reason for me to question it. It's all fluid and perfect. If something doesn't add up, and And I notice a trend with like any DOMs and stuff, or like especially any DI, more so than the double extroverts. Well, they'll say stuff that doesn't make sense to me. Like, I don't understand how you came to this conclusion, and then they'll try and explain it, and I'll be like, okay, but that doesn't make sense because you said this one thing, and now you're saying this, and they don't add up. And then they'll present another thing to me, and I'll be like, but you said this and this, and now you're saying completely the opposite. And then I'll argue with them really hardcore on that, and it's just you're chasing your tail because they don't even know what they think in the first place, and they're just trying to be right. And I don't care about winning a conversation. I care about understanding what the fuck is going on.
Okay, I could be off on this because I don't know the exact situation, but that kind of thing seems TE-ish, that you're comparing one argument versus another argument rather than just looking at each argument independently. TI generally will look at each argument independently and not compare the separate arguments.
Yeah. Well, see, I feel like I try and go in and dismantle people's arguments one by one. This is like a specific. I have a really close friend who's NIFI, I believe, and I see it sort of happening just across the internet. Just a theme of like me just not getting it, where he'll say like, "Oh, I went to the shop yesterday at 11 o'clock," and then I'll be like, "Okay, why did you do that? You know that it would be closed." And he was like, "No, I didn't say that. I didn't say 11 o'clock. I actually meant 9:30." And I was like, and I'll be like, it's just things like that where it's just like, I can deep dive and destroy your argument, but then you've changed the complete argument anyway. So now I'm going cat energy and I'm just smashing the thing off the board and just saying you're stupid and fuck this. Like,
right.
Because it's too much energy. Like, I love thinking and stuff, but if you're just going to give me conflicting information, it doesn't make sense. Like, I'm also seeing an OP, like, you were giving me a different definition of blast, which sort of makes slightly more sense to me. But a lot of the things within OP, I see that they're sort of like saying one thing, it's this thing, but it's also the opposite thing. And I'm like, what the fuck is blast then? Or what is sleep? Like, I'm not able to come to a solid conclusion, and I get really frustrated on that because it's like, we're seeing something here, but what the fuck is it? Why? What does this mean? If we're seeing last,
yeah,
is where I'm getting to.
Right. No, yeah, no, I can tell you that I definitely see that there are contradictions a little bit in what they're doing and what they're saying. Like, they'll go both ways. Like, as people will see it who definitely, especially in the typing videos, like their typing responses, that contradicts a lot with classes. Like, people who've been typed and they've told, okay, one thing, yeah, that often contradicts as well.
Yeah.
So I've seen a lot of that as well.
And I get that type of stuff bothers me.
Yeah. So it doesn't bother me because I know they're just people and they're just throwing stuff out there, and there's at least a solid NI behind it.
Yeah. Like, it doesn't bother me as in I think Dave and Shan are bad at typing, or I think OP is a bad system. It bothers me as in what the fuck is blast? What is it? What are we talking about here?
They tell us all the time about anecdotes. Don't use anecdotes. Don't use. But like, everything they give us are anecdotes from beginning to end is all one anecdote after the other, and they're kind of expecting us to put back together the concept from all of these different anecdotes, sort of thing. Which, like, this is generalizing. It's not all the time. It's not everywhere. But like, this is kind of what the issue you're talking about is a little bit there, right?
Yeah, and I also get frustrated with we're all trying to narrow down it on, like, in the group and stuff. There's lots of discussions of like, what is blast, let's say, and we're all trying to narrow down on something, and then new information will come. Like, I sort of thought I was demon consumed because when new information comes in, I really don't want to know about it. Like, my instinct is not even just to reject it. It's just like, yeah, we'll put that to the side and get to it later because I'm trying to process this thing. And once I've come to a clarity and an understanding of this, I don't really want it to change, I guess, as masculine NI, but I don't want this new information, but it's coming in anyway, and I'm just overwhelmed and I hate it.
Yeah. So I don't know if you remember what the context was. So why say the time specifically isn't correct?
That was probably with my friend who changes his argument every 5 seconds and doesn't make sense. So I don't know why he does that, but I personally like coherency in
Right.
sort of communication and stuff.
So we have another. Hey, Lewis. Nick strongly said he doesn't need people's reason when he's doing music. This is enjoying his lower functions when he's engaging in sensory art and does not want his reasons to cloud the flow state. Is that something that you identify with?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I'm happy normally to hear reasons and stuff. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
more. I might be like using the terms wrong and stuff, but I'd say I don't want more gather when I'm trying to organize, or I don't make something like that. Like I don't want more consume when I'm now trying to blast. Like I've done the consume, now I'm in a blast and I've switched gears, and I'm not interested in there's these possibilities out there. It's like, yeah, cool, but this is what I'm trying to do.
So what are you trying to do? Like what are these different ideas? Where are they coming from? Can you take us a little bit more through that? I know it's masculine sensory stuff you need to
Yeah,
answer
kind
that.
of.
But yeah.
Well, I have double masculine sleep. I thought it was savior, but I've always seen sleep in myself. And it
Mm-hmm.
feels like a really, so I call it the diamonding, like a really intense process, which I think also, if assuming that I am TE, why I would see that I have TI would be when things go into my introverted world, a lot of pressure gets applied to them to make them, a diamond, something which can no longer be
Yeah.
condensed any
That's
further.
actually a really good analogy for it. Diamonding. That's pretty good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've totally lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I've lost it. What was the question?
So,
What am I looking for and stuff?
something about music here. Yeah.
Yeah, what am I looking
Well,
for
tell
when I'm
us about
trying
your
to do these
sleep a little
things?
bit. Yeah. Tell us about your sleep a little bit. What's the process of sleep? How do you see it?
I see it having quite a lot of like phases. Let's say, like I'm sometimes a lot of it. I have an internal monologue, and I'm trying to I'm trying to make sentences and stuff that make sense in my head, like sort of what you describe as like TI, kind of like there's a math going on, and things need to align. Like the outside world needs to align with my inside world of what's going on. Otherwise, there's cognitive dissonance there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I guess I could see it having FI in like if we're doing music, I'll notice that there's a trend of acoustic musicians don't use drums and they don't have groove. It's become a point like before music would have groove, whether or not it has drums, like the chord progression inherently has movement to it.
Okay.
Nowadays I hear a lot of finger picking and there's no real rhythm. I don't like that. Let's bring it to something where there is groove and there is motion and stuff, and we have a more holistic version of music, and I'll try and make music in that sort of way, I guess. That's where I'd maybe see an FI priority coming
Yeah,
from.
no, that's still kind of theorizing music. It's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm seeing stuff like that in my
Like you
sleep.
have you do have a preference. You are aware of that preference. But I mean,
Yeah,
like preference could also be SE in that because it's like a sensory preference as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
So to go back to sleep, um, I'm actively doing sleep a lot in my head as far as an inner monologue. I can't think things that don't make sense. I can't think I was walking down the road because I'm a plane that is in space or something. That's not an acceptable thought for me to have because it's
Yeah.
completely incoherent.
Well, that's
Um,
SE over NE, I guess. That's like
yeah,
an
I
NE
guess.
thought. Yeah. Sorry, I'm bashing on the NEs, but they can handle it. They're good.
They like it for the most part.
Yeah.
I kind of
Yeah.
enjoy it sometimes when I see them, if it's not too much. Um, so I'll have that, but then I'll also feel like I'll go into I, an NI place in my sleep where I'm no longer actually consciously thinking. It becomes like I'll zone out, let's say, I'll daydream for a moment, and then all of a sudden a conclusion will dawn on me, or like I'll have a big equation which is too much for me to actively like think through it in my brain. I'll just be like, okay, I'm thinking about this really hard. I'm not getting anywhere. I've been spinning my wheels in the mud for the last 5 minutes, getting more and more frustrated at this problem. I don't have a sensory example because my SE's
Yeah.
failing.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, okay, whatever. I'll just think about something else, and I kind of will just become vacant-minded for a second, and then I'll understand something, or I'll wake up the next morning and I'll like from physical actual sleep, and I'll be like, oh, everything now makes sense to me.
That's yeah. Without a sensory example, it's going to be pretty hard. Everything.
Um,
So what? Yeah. What makes sense to you all of a sudden? what was the puzzle you were puzzling over?
It could literally be people stuff. It could be this server stuff. Like, it could be I'm trying to figure out. I've got a song. The chords go like bah bah, and then I want it to go to some weird, suspended, diminished, whatever thing, and I don't know how to make it resolve. I could then get into a flow state where I'm not thinking about it actively, because thinking about it actively, I'm just coming up with like, this works on paper, but it's not working. It's not hitting me affectively how I want the music to hit someone. And I'll be like, oh, do you know what? I'll just go for a walk, and I'll come back home and I'll sit down and I'll hit spacebar to play the song back on my computer, and I'll be like, oh, it's so obvious. I just needed to put this chord in there. Or I can have like an argument with somebody and not understand why did they believe this stuff, and then I'll like go for a walk or do whatever I want to do. Like, I'll start writing a song, and then in the middle of the process of writing the song, it will dawn on me, like, I have no control over it. Like, I have active sleep, which is what I'm doing. Even maybe out loud right now, I'm trying to process through what I'm thinking and understand stuff. This is very much what's going on in my head actively. But when I take a break from this, then things will dawn on me without my conscious mind being aware of it. It will just come out of somewhere, and I'll understand. It will, like, context will be given out of
That's
lack
okay.
of context.
So that's really good what you just said, how you're processing things in the moment like this right now with me. That is very evident of TE.
Right, but I have this same monologue in my head. Like, on my own, I'll be trying to figure stuff out the same way that I am here.
Okay.
I had a point about that I've lost once again.
Okay.
Something that maybe you're not doing that I am doing, assuming you have an inner monologue and stuff. I'm aware that my thoughts are going to be presented to a tribe at some point. Like, I'll maybe try and make a blast in my head that is acceptable for Benjamin, or say I'm talking to Shan. I want to sort of understand OP, and I'm going to do it in a way that I can be like, okay, Shan, I know what you're talking about with OP. I get the point, but what is blast? And I'm going to try and figure out a way of saying that to her so that she can give me the information that I need without her getting offended and it causing a big conflict. So I'm actively taking that into account with my thinking. Is this going to cause conflict with the tribe or not? Which I'm not sure. Maybe TI does do that, or it doesn't.
Yeah, so TI does do that. TI is afraid of that, but at the same time, it's not as aware of FI. So it's aware of the FE spectrum. It's aware of the tribe spectrum. It's not aware of specific nuances in FI, because FI is a lot more nuanced. Everybody has a completely different FI, and what offends one person could not offend someone else. Like, what someone finds funny, someone else might find offensive. Things like this.
Yeah.
So getting to know someone's FI is like really delicate. You can always very easily offend an FI. Whereas FE, it's more objective. Like, did I offend you? Well, it objectively shouldn't have offended you. Oh, you're right. Okay, now it no longer offended me. Done. Whereas FI, it just offends you. Done. Doesn't matter if it should have or it shouldn't have.
Yeah. I kind of see what you're saying. I'm questioning, though. Like, if somebody goes against your TI, let's say you've got a brilliant theory on whatever it is you've got, and let's say you've made something. You're a bit into engineering. You've made something. Here's your FI that I've gotten in touch with a bit, Benjamin. You like inventing and stuff. You've got this new invention, and you present it to me, and I point out the reasons. Right, it's shit here. It's shit here. It's shit here. I feel like you would be offended even if I tell you shouldn't be offended, because now your thing's going to be better. There's still a part of you, subconsciously even, that you're going to be like, oh, fuck. Like, I didn't like that criticism.
Yeah, I guess.
Because that's how I feel too. Like, I'm kind of aware of your FI, and that I kind of know what you like and stuff, but I'll get pissed off, and if you piss me off, then I'm pissed off because I'm pissed off, and that's how I feel, and reasons aren't going to change that. But I can come to an understanding of it via reasons, and I can move past it if it's the best thing to do.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry. I've been
Okay,
thinking
well,
really deeply about this.
yeah. No, it's just the processing in the moment stuff is You also did mention you were seeing reasons on the spectrum earlier as well.
Did I?
You can't remember. It's been okay.
I don't know.
I also identify a lot with when you're saying like you lost your train of thought. Do you want to tell me a little bit about that? Like what losing your train of thought means, what it is?
Yeah, I tend to think like I'm gonna get into weird NF analogies, but I tend to feel like I think from left to right. I tend to try and think in a way that is structured, that is coherent, and new information will sort of like throw me off of that. So I'll be going down a train of thought, I'll be on a track, I'll be going in one direction, and then we'll be like, oh yeah, what about this thing? And now I'm like, the train has veered off somewhere and I'm still going down this track, and I'm like, what the fuck? Where are my thoughts? What were we talking about? What's the point? What is life? Who are we? What does it mean?
So for me, when I lose my train of thought, it's like I have a point in mind and I'm trying to build up to that point. But then when someone interrupts me or something like that, I forget the point. And I can kind of see where I was, but I don't know where I was going anymore. Is that something you identify with?
Yeah. It sounds very similar.
Yeah.
It's normally Queen, I see it as new information.
Queen wants me to say something, but I don't even know what he's talking about. What do you want me to say, man? Louis has a bunch of questions here. Okay, so does he have a monologue when he is performing music?
Interesting. I don't have an inner monologue. So right now when I'm speaking, my inner monologue is now becoming my external monologue. I've heard people say that as they're talking, there's another voice in their head talking independently. My inner monologue is how I'm speaking right now. I'm choosing my words, and I'm doing the same thing in my head. I'm trying to make things elegant, trying to do a bit of diamonding in my head. Trying to like have the most efficient, concise way of saying something so that it conveys the message most clearly and is the most accurate analogy for reality that I can come up with via words.
Yeah.
But so no. The answer would be no. If I'm playing guitar, I'll be thinking about stuff. But if I'm singing, maybe really miscellaneous chatter happens. Like I'll see something and I'll be like, oh, that's a person in the crowd, whatever. But I'll be focusing on singing and I'll be trying to put my energy into my words and stuff.
That inner monologue thing is throwing me. I don't know if it's type related or not.
I don't either.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Because like I don't think I have an inner monologue. It feels like most of my thoughts are wordless and shapeless and formless until they're ready to come out. And once they're at that state, they start acquiring words, I guess.
Yeah, that's interesting. See, I thought for me when I was thinking I was TI, I was seeing the sort of inner monologue thing as being TI. Like it's, to me, it feels like a very TI process of trying to sort of slice things down so that it's not just a last ramble that has no point. But then when I started speaking to people about it, a lot of the TIs don't have inner monologues. And like to bring him up again, Dave of all people was saying that his TI is like shapes and symbols largely.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how the fuck you can come to a logical conclusion that you can communicate to people via shapes and symbols. I don't.
Well, okay. So when the TI gets really heavy, like when the question that we're solving gets really, really heavy, it's like, that's when I'm going to start putting into words because, okay, now I need to actually sort this out. I need to put it out there and look at it in front of my face to sort it out a little bit better. But until it gets to that point, it doesn't need words yet. Because like a lot of the concepts that we're inventing on the spot don't really have words yet. A lot of the things we're building, you can't really associate with anything real. Yeah.
Right. That's really interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I also thought I was MF and stuff because a lot of my thinking and stuff is just auditory. Like I see kind of like SI images of the past or whatever, and
Hmm.
can sort of project NI images, but my imagery in my head is all very, it slips away and it's sort of translucent. Whereas for me, the audio in my head is really dominant over everything. I hear very well what my voice is saying in my head and stuff like that.
Yeah, so that's not necessarily audio either. What your voice
Yeah,
is
no, I know,
saying,
I know.
hearing your because like I'm audio and I don't have that voice.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's interesting though. Like for me, audio is like a very strong component of my life.
What about in terms of like a thought palace, like with rooms, and can you see your memories?
I thought I couldn't, and then I sort of like thought about the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies, where he's sort of planning stuff out in his head, and then like you think that it's actually happening, but then it's just his crazy bullshit analysis, and then it actually plays out, and it's not like what he thought. Um, I see that in myself. Yeah, I see it sort of masculine, and I thought palace. Yeah. Um, but it's not that good. It's not as good as Robert Downey Jr.'s. It's sort
Yeah,
of
well,
vaguer than it.
yeah,
I
you
thought
got
it
to
was
train it a little bit.
SI. I thought it was SI for a while because I realized like I can see sort of these vague images that I can't place in the past that are sort of sepia toned, and that seems like it could be SI-ish. But I realized that it's
Well, you
kind
just
of
said
like a projection
sepia
of NI.
tone. Sepia toned.
Mm-hmm.
That's visual. Like I would never have a sepia toned memory. That would just
Yeah, no, I realized that they weren't even real memories. It was just like my NI was fabricating memories because I
okay.
was like, okay, place this in time and space. When did this memory happen? It didn't. It's physically impossible that you have this memory, so you just projected this bullshit into the past. And when I think about it, it's like got that translucent quality that my NI has.
Hmm.
Like for context, a lot of feminine SE users say that reality feels dreamy to them. To me, it doesn't really. It feels fairly solid, and my NI feels kind of dreamy to me, but also solid. Like I feel like I can really
Yeah.
commit to my NI, but it's slipping through my fingers a bit, which feels feminine NI to me again. But
Someone asked me what type I think you are. Okay, so if what I would keep on the table for you is I wouldn't take off single observer from the table. And
I wouldn't either.
yeah, I would definitely put you on the SE side. That's definitely
Mhm.
something. Feminine SE. That I can't ignore. Um, so that either SE Dom or not. And then the other thing I wouldn't ignore about you is like you weren't really comparing yourself to other people. You weren't really saying this is what this guy saw. You were a little bit.
Yeah, I do it a little bit. I sort of have the same problem that you're having because I feel like I guess being a glass lizard could kind of account for it because
Yeah.
I don't feel like I cleanly fit into the observer or decider axis. Like I have observer freakouts and I have decider freakouts,
Yeah.
and they're both real to me.
And then the other thing that I double feminine makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But whether it's FETI or TEFI, that's still I wouldn't make a conclusion on that yet either. But those are the two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sort of still unsure. Like for me, this makes sense if you're looking at it from an OP perspective. How they type me, like
Yeah.
I'm DE over DI, it's feminine DE, and I'm a thinker over a feeler.
The thing is,
Supposedly.
okay, so what I'm saying is, okay, you're right. It makes sense from an OP perspective, but something else could also make sense from an OP perspective, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And that's really I don't think at its heart OP needs to disagree with Young.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
And to channel change, I've been really. If it sounds like I dislike OP or I've been ragging on it to people who
Oh
have
no, no,
FI
yeah.
higher, I've been really impressed by like their grids and their system, like their definitions of stuff is just kind of, again, not to be rude, a bit ridiculous in some ways. Like if you read like Young's chapter on SI, which I haven't done, but I've read parts and stuff like that, and then you
Uh-huh.
look at organized sensory. It's like these two things are not the same at all. And
Not
then
at
they
all.
type
No.
someone as SI, and then you interview them on this channel, and they'll tell you about Jung's chapter on SI that they've never read. And they'll just be like telling you about what SI, the cognitive function in Jung's theory is. And you're like, how
Right.
the fuck did they figure out? How is this playing out in reality the way it is? I don't understand it. It blows my mind.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. So we'll link your stuff. We're running a bit over time, but we'll link your stuff in the description. And I will definitely try to figure this out a little bit more. It's a bit of a puzzle here. Because something doesn't seem to be adding up. Like it could be, like they could be right. What am I saying? But
yeah,
or Shan at least in the moment.
Stuff.
Yeah, yeah. But I would be really interested. Like, so this isn't something that I've ever said before. But someone came to me in an email, and they told me that they used a different name. They were typed in a call, and they were typed objectively, and they used a different name and a different account, and they got a different type each time. And when I like, I was a private call I did with them, and I saw that the call type was probably not accurate, and the double typing with the video was definitely more accurate. Yeah. So you know, this kind of thing could be going on with other people as well. That's just putting it out there. Yeah.
It's definitely possible. I mean, mistakes happen. It's just normal.
Yeah, for sure. It's expected. It's expected that they happen. Anyways, man, thank you everyone for watching. And thanks, Nick, for coming out. Stick around. We'll have a little chat.